everybody. My name is Holly and I am what am I? It's the summer now, so I'm in between my second and third year teaching. I'm going into my third year teaching, but this will be my first year teaching high school math. My first 2 years I was in 7th grade math. It's a whole other story. The story that I want to tell you guys today is the nightmare that was my first year teaching. I'm not sharing this to scare anyone away from teaching. Definitely don't. If you want to teach, please, we need more teachers. But I definitely had a very interesting first year, and I thought it would be therapeutic, I guess, to share kind of what happened, and also just, in case anyone was curious what it's like your first year teaching. Granted, my first year was definitely a unique experience that hopefully not many people go through. You'll see what I mean. A little bit of backstory. I graduated from college in May of 2022, and I did not graduate with my education degree. Even though I knew I wanted to be a teacher, there were a lot of things that kind of went on, and I do have another video about how I got into teaching on my channel if you are interested. But basically, I decided to do an alternate certification program just because my college was being weird and I was trying to get married and a lot of other things. So I did I Teach Texas, which I did not actually start it right away. I was at an engineering company that I kind of liked working at, and I wasn't 100% sure I wanted to teach because, we're just getting off COVID at that time, and my mom was a teacher, so I saw firsthand how hard it was, and I just wasn't sure if that was something I was ready for. But almost a year later, in April of 2023, I decided to go for it, and I started applying for I Teach. I got in, I became eligible, started applying at a bunch of different schools, and I heard back from one at the beginning of the summer, which is amazing, and it was at my previous middle school. The interview went really well, but I had done some observation at that school, and what I talked to the teachers about was pretty different than what they were telling me in the interview, so I was already a little hesitant to go in. Admin was saying like, oh, we're the best of the best, these kids are just a step above, we are just better than everyone else. There's 4 middle schools in my district, by the way. And so I was like, wow, that sounds great. But when I talked to the teachers, they were like, yeah, these kids are kind of terrible. We have to break up drug deals all the time. There's fights all the time. So obviously, those are two very different stories, and I was not sure what to believe. So I just went in with a very open mind and wanted to make the best of it because I knew I wanted to teach at this point. I mean, I've known since I was 3 years old, but I was ready, I was committed. Also, a little bit of background knowledge. I wanted to teach high school, which I'm gonna start next year, so I'm very excited. But I wanted to teach algebra or geometry. I really didn't consider middle school. I thought it was fine, but my sights were set on high school. However, through I Teach, they did not qualify me to take the 7 through 12 exam. I had to do my 4 through 8, so I was only qualified for middle school. So that is the main reason that I ended up in a middle school my first 2 years, was because of that. So I'm hired, I start going to all the trainings, everything's great, I'm excited. First day of professional development, I get to meet my team. There's 4 of us. 3 of us are new to the campus. Not new to teaching, but new to that school and district. So I was like, okay, that's great. And the 4th person, who was there the previous year, did not want to be there anymore. She was actually trying to get out of teaching. Do you kind of see how that's a problem? None of us knew what we were doing, and the one person that didn't really care. So that was definitely a challenge, kind of starting. We didn't really have anyone to go to for help. So it was tough, and especially for me being a very first year teacher. I didn't do any student teaching or anything like that, but we made it work. We were a pretty good team once we kind of all got, past the first, that beginning struggle phase. We did work together pretty well. especially me and my one coworker who I love to death, and I'm so sad that I'm leaving her. She was like my rock through it all, and she taught me everything I know today. Like, she is incredible. So I'm very, very lucky that I had her. Otherwise, I might not be teaching this year. It was that bad. Okay, so there's all of the background. There's so much more, but I could spend hours talking about this, and I know that's not what we're here for, so I'm gonna try and speed it up a little bit. To set the scene, as I said, 4 teachers. Me, my bestie, the male teacher, and the previous teacher. That's how I'm going to refer to them, okay? Me and bestie stayed close. We're still close. Love her. The male teacher ended up leaving at Christmas break because he was dealing with some family issues. So that was really hard, losing a teacher, obviously. And just that whole first semester, I mean, I was on the verge of several mental breakdowns. I cried at work several times. Like, it was a lot. And then we lost a teacher from our team. And so it was like, oh man, that's a bummer. Like, he did what he needed to do, but it did suck. The interesting thing is our school decided not to replace him with a permanent teacher. So they decided to hire a long-term sub, which was fine. We were excited to work with this person. They had just graduated. They had done student teaching on our campus the semester before, so they already knew the campus. So we were like, okay, great. We'll work with you. He was another male teacher. So that's the long-term sub. The previous teacher, she quit in February. She was offered another position, doing what she really wanted to be doing. So we, again, can't fault you for doing what's good for you. Very happy for her. Sad to see her go. We're already on rocky soil, you guys, okay? We are crawling, army crawling our way through the school year, okay? So the previous teacher leaves, and they do hire an actual teacher to replace that one. Where's the logic? I don't know, okay? I don't know. Not my circus, not my monkeys, none of my business. I am just trying to survive every single day at this point without crying. I was only sometimes successful. So remember the male long-term sub that we got at Christmas, or I guess at January, spring break, they decide to let him go. They were then going to replace him with another long-term sub who was not even certified to be a teacher. She had not even started the process, and she wanted to teach English. Spoiler alert, I'm a math teacher. This team was math, okay? So she came and observed for a day. They let that long-term sub know, hey, after spring break, you're not coming back. And then the replacement pieced out of there. She saw the train wreck for what it was, decided she wanted nothing to do with it. I hope she is doing well, because I don't blame her. So now we are yet again back to school after a break with no teacher in that classroom. Eventually, they are able to, like, it's just day-to-day subs in there at this point, okay? Eventually, maybe a week or so after, we had another long-term sub on campus that was subbing for someone on maternity leave. When that teacher came back, this long-term sub filled the math position. This long-term sub was like 8.5 months pregnant with twins, like ready to pop, okay? She accepted the position, so I'm not gonna ask any questions, but we were excited to work with her, but also she's not gonna make it to the end of the school year. Like, that is crazy. Now, we are a month out from the end of the year. So we're in like the end of April. She stuck around to the end of April, and then during class, okay, 30 kids in the room, her water breaks. She calls down to the office, lets them know, hey, my water is broke. I'm going to the hospital. You would think that they would say, are you okay? Do you need us to call an ambulance? Do you need someone to drive you to the hospital? No, they weren't worried about that. You know what they said? If you're leaving, make sure you come to the office and sign yourself out. What? Her water is broken. There's fluid all over the chair, all over the floor. What? So that was bizarre. It was also like 15 minutes before the school day ended. But no, she waddled herself to her car, drove around to the front of the building, and signed herself out. That's bizarre. I still don't understand it. I don't understand it. So we have a month left of school. Okay. Yet again, no teacher in this room. These kids have not had a permanent teacher since the first semester. They've had subs. Who knows what they're learning, if they're learning. You know what I mean? No shade against the long-term subs. They were doing their best, but like, kids need consistency. And I know every time they came in, like a new teacher came in, it was new rules, new routines, new procedures. Also, the teacher that left at Christmas didn't actually announce to his students that he wasn't coming back. So when we came back after Christmas break, a lot of the kids heard that the teacher was a long-term sub and assumed that the original teacher was going to come back. Yeah, no. Okay, we are in the home stretch. The end is in sight. They have completely given up trying to staff that classroom. So we have a rotating schedule of random daily subs. Admin is going in there teaching the class. Our master teachers are going in there teaching the classes. People on their conference periods are giving up their conference to go teach that class. It is crazy. Okay, I don't know. Oh, it was crazy. And then a week before school's out, remember the teacher that took over for the previous teacher? She had a family emergency and had to leave and not return a week before school's out. So granted, that wasn't as big of a deal, but it was still abrupt. And after everything else that happened, it's like, good grief, what else are we gonna have to deal with this year? Like, oh my goodness. It was insane, okay? Very sad for her, but she's okay. So that is the teaching, that is my team's situation. No consistency, no structure, constant changes. The only thing that kept me going was bestie teacher, okay? She gave me so much advice, so much support, so much encouragement. I would have walked if not for her. Like I was drowning and she was just holding me by my collar above the waves. Just some other little tidbits about what happened my first year teaching. I was assigned a mentor on campus, an on-campus mentor. And I was super excited about it because I got the department chair. And I was like, oh my gosh, she is like super experienced. She knows what she's doing. She's been here forever. She's gonna be so helpful. She met with me the day before school started and really did give me some good advice. And she, kind of helped with any last minute questions that I had, because I was so nervous. I'd never taught a day in my life, never subbed, never done student teaching. I was nervous. I was like, you're gonna leave me alone in a room full of students and just trust me to take care of that? Like that, it was bizarre, okay? Absolutely bizarre. So she came and talked to me for a little bit, and never again. She was supposed to meet with me like once or twice a month. Nah. She never met with me again. I had no one to talk to, no one to go to for help. Like I was so, oh my gosh. Yeah. And I know that it's not a lot of districts don't give mentors for new teachers, so that wasn't a requirement. But since it was promised to me and then they didn't deliver on it, I was like, what? Like, she got a stipend for mentoring me. She didn't do anything. After Christmas break, you know how you're supposed to, in most districts, they make you unplug everything, turn everything off, take everything home, right? Well, I had a diffuser in my room, which I know, hot topic of debate here. Technically, having a diffuser in your room is against the rules because it could aggravate if a student is like sensitive to smell or something. It could like aggravate them or give them allergies or whatever the reason is. But I had like unofficially gotten it approved. Like, our principal was basically like, hey, don't quote me on this, which I'm quoting him on this, but I'm leaving, so it doesn't matter. But he was basically like, hey, you do what you need to do to make your classroom a safe learning environment, a welcoming learning environment. Like, it is, you're in there, you know your kids, do what you gotta do. So a lot of teachers had diffusers, sensies, you know, just stuff like that, lamps, lights, all that stuff. I did have a diffuser. I left it plugged in. Off, okay, it was not running all break. It was completely turned off, but I hadn't unplugged it from the wall. That just slipped my mind to do that. So we get back to campus after Christmas break, and everyone is kind of like, are you missing anything? Because I can't find my lamp, or I can't find my diffuser. I can't find, things have just gone missing from a lot of people's rooms. And so we're all like, what's going on? District had come by and confiscated everything that was against the rules, meaning almost every teacher on campus had something confiscated. And the principal was like, hey, it's fine. I'm taking the heat for this. None of y'all are getting in trouble. They just put all of it in my room. So just swing by my office and pick it up after this. And I was like, okay, whatever, that's fine. Go to his office, no diffuser. And I was like, that's so funny. What? The plug for it was there, but there was no diffuser. They threw my diffuser away. Other people had diffusers and got them returned, but mine, they threw away. My kids loved that diffuser, okay? It was one of our class jobs to be the one to fill it with water and like put the oil in it, and they always wanted to pick the scent. Like, my kids loved that diffuser. They threw it away and didn't replace it. Are you kidding me? Like, that's just so crazy. And I like reported it, and they were like, oh yeah, well, you know, we'll look into it. There was no looking done, okay? There was, you might be thinking to yourself, Holly, that's gotta be it. That's gotta be all. No. Oh, there's so much more. There's so much more. I'm not gonna go into too many details because I just don't feel like it. But I had a teacher next door to me that had major beef with me for some reason. But basically, to sum up that beef, she kept claiming that my students were banging on the walls so hard that it was knocking pictures off on her side of the wall and just like overall disrupting her class. Hey, if my kid, they're middle schoolers, okay? I can totally see that. Except for the fact that they're not banging on the walls. Like, I'm in there. If they're banging loud enough that you on the other side of the wall can hear them, I would hear them and I would see them. She made it sound like they were just slamming their little fists on it the whole class. So I tried to keep it polite. I tried to be respectful. She started sending students over to tell me to be quiet. And I was like, oh my gosh, why did you not just call my room? Why are you getting students involved in this? Like, that's just crazy. So I pull in my appraiser because I'm like, hey, I don't know how to deal with this. Like, what do I do? How should I address this issue? And I kind of told her what was going on, and she was like, okay, I think we just need to have like a meeting to address this. And I was like, okay. Well, this other teacher is like emailing me, calling me, sending students. At one point, y'all, you're not ready for this. At one point, she comes over to my room, looks in, looks at one of my students and says, if you touch that wall again, I'm gonna break your hand. In case you didn't know, you can't say that. You can't threaten a student like that. Did she get in trouble? No. I did bring it up. We had a little mediation meeting where she just made light of the whole thing, laughing, trying to play it off as it's not really that big of a deal. She kept cutting me off. It was just a mess. Nothing was really done about it, but they did switch her classroom the next year, so it wasn't next to me. And interesting, this past year, I had 0 complaints from the teacher next door. So Who knows? I mean, I will take partial responsibility that I know there were times that we were loud and, you know, kids, they do stuff, you know, it happens. But like, y'all, anyway, this is kind of a wild card here. We had a lot of issues, obviously, throughout the whole year. Like my team, we had a lot of issues, and we were really upset at the way that a lot of things were handled by the administrative team. And so when it, like the letters were sent out, like letters of content to say whether or not you're coming back next year, I checked maybe, because I was actually applying to other positions. I did not think I was capable of staying here another year. It was such a bad year. I checked maybe and basically just said like, hey, I want to have a conversation with you. So I have a conversation with the principal, and it did not go at all the way I expected it to go. I, you know, kind of stated my piece, and I know that what I was saying was not out of pocket, because I like my bestie teacher was saying the same things, and she has like 15, 16 years of experience. And she was like, yeah, this type of stuff should not have happened. That was not normal. They did not handle that well. And so I was like, hey, I'm not trying to say that y'all did anything wrong. This is just how I perceived it and how it made me feel. And this is just where I'm at right now. I tried to make it very non-confrontational. I was just sharing, you know, being open with my employer, which apparently you shouldn't do. But anyway, after that conversation with him, like I said my piece, and then my principal looked me dead in the eye and was like, yeah, well, you know, I hear you, I hear your frustrations, but I stand by all the decisions that my admin team has made this year, and if you're unhappy with that, then I guess we're just not the admin team for you. I'm sorry, what? Like, I understand kind of where you're coming from, but I was a first year teacher. I had gotten no support from anyone that year, and then you're gonna respond to my completely valid criticisms and my completely valid feelings by just telling me basically to leave? What? So that was very interesting. It was quite a wild ride. I will say this past year went so much better. I think me and the principal kind of just mutually agreed to pretend that the past year hadn't existed. We were like both just turning over a new leaf. Like we didn't talk about it, but it was just kind of like unspoken that we weren't going to talk about the last year. And we actually were able to, like, he was my appraiser last year, or not last year, this past year. And I mean, I really am glad that I got to work with him. You know, I learned a lot, and I'm really glad that I got to show him how good of a teacher I am, because I know I'm a good teacher. I know I'm good at what I do. Like for being a second year teacher, I feel really confident in my abilities. I've gotten a lot of feedback from a lot of people saying that like I am right on track to becoming a great teacher, like all that sort of stuff. So it was very validating to go from a train wreck of a first year to a really successful second year. So if you are considering teaching, absolutely go for it. Just be prepared for anything. Because I know that for some people, you would hear this and go, oh, that's nothing compared to what I've been through. I know, and I'm so sorry. I've heard some horror stories. I know that what I went through was terrible, but I also had a lot of good things happen. And I know that, yeah, I mean, I survived. I made it. I learned from it. I laugh at it now. And I'm moving on to bigger and better things. So I hope you have enjoyed my little story here. I am always open to answering questions in the comments. If you have any tips on teaching high school, as I mentioned at the beginning, I've only taught middle school. I'm moving to high school next year. I would appreciate all the advice you can give me. Again, just thank you so much for watching. Please make sure that you like this video if you did, and make sure that you're subscribed so that I can see you in the next one. Mwah. Bye.